Hi, welcome back to Bama Canned. I hope you liked my first video. It was an introductory video. Sorry about the shakiness, I was a little bit nervous. As I continue, my nerves should go down just a little bit. Like I said, I've never done these type of tutorials before. But like I said, just bear with me. I promise there's a lot more things to come, and when we start cooking, that's going to be the major deal right there. I have so many different recipes to share with you guys, and I hope that I can pass this on to somebody who actually shares the passion as well as I do with canning your own home foods. The second video that I want to talk about is basically the enzymes, mold, yeast, and bacteria that grow on your fruits and vegetables. And yes, they do. You may not know it, you may not realize it, but it does. It's natural. It's not nasty or anything like that. But even at the grocery store, the fruits and vegetables that you buy are caked with bacteria. If they're not handled properly, your failure would be a spewing jar in your cabinet. And let me tell you, you don't want that. That right there, first, it's an ego killer, like really, really bad. You know, but everybody makes mistakes. And when you start canning, you know, a mistake is good, actually. You learn from what you did wrong. You have to take that can that you can, and you have to go back and say, hey, what did I do wrong? And that's completely fine, and that's okay, because I've been there. That's how I learned. I took a lot of my family recipes and kind of turned them into my own, and I succeeded through trial and error. It's science. Whether you know it, it is a science behind all these canned foods. The first thing is basically your quality of your food. This is where it all begins. From when you start picking it in your garden to the time that you go to the grocery store and get it, which I have to do sometimes. I don't like to, but if I run out, or if it's the dead middle of winter, I don't have any plants growing in my garden, that's what I have to do if I want to process my food in jars. But the first thing is the quality. The quality of the food is when you take a piece of fruit, per se, or a tomato, and I'll put some pictures on here to show you the differences in what I'm talking about. You get it and you look at it, and you hold it in your hands and you lightly, very lightly press on it to make sure it's not overripe or it's not been damaged or bruised, as they say, from packing it, shipping it to the store. The same with out here, because you can get animals in your garden, and you may not know it until you pick it that it's been damaged. But that's okay. There's no need to panic about a damaged fruit or vegetable. But what you need to do, the main thing is an overripe vegetable, like an overripe tomato. If you squeeze into it and it just sinks in, don't use it. You need to use plump, firm fruit or vegetables when you're canning. Also, moving on into that, mold and yeast. Mold and yeast can occur in your cans if they're not processed correctly. Most of your fruits, should I say, you might get lucky with some vegetables, but I'll get on with that in a later video tutorial. But with most of your fruits, like strawberries, peaches, apples, things like that, those can be processed in a water bath canner, as they call it, which means the jar is completely submerged in water up to about 2 inches above, say, a pint can, and 2 inches above a quart-size can. But to move on with the mold and yeast, the proper temperature that you need to carry inside your water bath canner, which is pictured here, you need to have a temperature of 212 degrees for a specified time to make sure that you've killed all the enzymes, mold, and yeast that might be growing in your fruit or vegetable that you've canned. Bacteria, that's a little bit different. The bacteria usually grows in a low acid type food. Meaning the acidity of the natural fruit or vegetable is too low to actually help combat the bacteria that may be growing in that. So when you're using a low acid food, you need to have a pressure canner or pressure steamer, whichever one you would call it, which has these valves on it, and it locks, and it contains a 240 degree temperature inside the canner. A very large canner would be necessary if you're doing a large batch of food. You can get smaller ones off eBay or Walmart, your choice. But I like to use the large kind because I'm a large batch processor. I process a lot of foods in a short amount of time, so these great big water bath canners and steamers are great for me. So, but the bacteria is different than mold. Mold is easily killed by boiling your food, like opening a can of tomatoes and boiling them up to a certain time to 212 degrees. That kills all the mold and yeast, you know. But bacteria is different. You need to be careful. That's why the pressure canners are here. For like this jar of corn, all corn needs to be processed in a pressure canner. That way the jar itself gets 240 degrees inside this canner for the certain amount of time specified in the recipe. That's to be safe, to make sure you've killed everything you possibly can in that jar to keep it, from popping up and spewing out, and just the smell is unimaginable when you have a rotten jar. But I will go into a little bit more depth into that in another video tutorial that covers just mold and yeast, and also another one that covers just bacteria. So this is going to be a long process to start with, but once you know these few keys, these are key things you need to know before you start canning, because your success is based off of the scientific part of the home canning process. So like I said, thank you for watching me. Find me on Facebook at facebook.com/BamaCanned. Subscribe to my page and check back for frequent updates. And thank you for visiting Bama Canned.